Okay, so have you ever noticed something about note-taking? It's kind of like a personal thing, right?
Yeah, totally.
Some people I know, they have these crazy color-coded systems, like it's an art project or something.
Mm.
And then you have the others who are just like scribbling frantically, like, will they even be able to read that later?
Oh, it definitely, I've been both.
But here's the thing. Have you ever felt that like weird tension when someone asks for your notes?
Oh, absolutely. It's like they're asking for a piece of your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're giving away a secret part of yourself.
Yeah.
And that brings us to today's deep dive. We're going to tackle this whole idea of why some top students are so reluctant to share their notes. You know, the ones.
Yeah.
Is it just them being selfish? Or is there something more to it? We're going to unpack this using excerpts from this fascinating text we found that explores this very phenomenon.
I think what's really interesting here is how note sharing kind of gets into all these academic pressures and even personal insecurities, you know? It's not as simple as it seems on the surface.
Yeah, the text even mentions that sometimes, labeling a top student as selfish just because they don't want to share their notes, it might be a total misjudgment.
Yeah, exactly.
We're already challenging that stereotype right off the bat.
Right.
But if it's not about being stingy, then what is it? What's really going on in their minds?
Well, the text actually breaks it down into 5 key reasons, and I gotta say, some of them are pretty surprising.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
All right, so number 1, fear of competition. Think about it. You're in this crazy competitive academic environment where good grades are like gold.
Yeah.
Sharing your notes, it can almost feel like you're giving away your secret weapon. Especially when everyone is fighting tooth and nail for those top spots.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like in sports, right? You wouldn't expect a pro athlete to share their training secrets with their rivals.
Exactly.
But, I mean, does that really apply to academics too?
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of students, their academic performance, it's tied to so much, scholarships, future opportunities, even their self-worth.
Yeah, their whole identity is wrapped up in those grades.
There's a lot riding on it, for sure.
No doubt. And, speaking of valuable things, the second reason the text mentions is this sense of ownership.
Yeah.
And it's not just about being possessive, right? These notes, they actually represent a ton of hard work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Students, they pour hours into lectures, into research, organizing their thoughts. And those notes, they're kind of a form of intellectual property in a way.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like their own unique creation.
Exactly. So it's totally understandable that they'd want to protect that, especially if they've really put in the effort to make those notes something special.
Yeah, it's like if you spent weeks crafting a beautiful painting or something.
Right.
You wouldn't just hand it over to anyone without thinking twice.
Exactly. And this leads us to the third reason, past negative experiences. Imagine lending these notes you spent so much time on, and then they get copied and passed around without your permission. Or even worse, they use them to undermine your own work.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt. Yeah. It's like that feeling of having your trust totally broken.
Exactly. And that feeling of betrayal, it can be even worse in school, where your grades and your reputation are always on the line.
You're constantly being judged.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to reason number 4. And this was a little more complex. It's called insecurity masquerading as selfishness. So it's not about being stingy, but more about feeling inadequate.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You have all these high achievers, right? And they're under so much pressure.
To be perfect.
They start to worry that their notes aren't good enough, that people will judge them, that they'll find all these mistakes in their thinking.
It's almost easier to just hide those notes away.
Exactly. It's like a shield to protect themselves from criticism.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's kind of sad, though. When you think about it, they're missing out on all the benefits of collaborating with others.
And that brings us to the 5th and final reason, a misunderstanding of collaboration. Some students, they see learning as this zero-sum game. If they help someone else, it's like they're losing something themselves.
Wait, so you're telling me that by helping others, I can actually become smarter?
Think about it. When you have to explain a concept to someone else, you're forced to articulate it, clearly organize your thoughts, and you really have to address any gaps in your own understanding.
So basically, teaching is the best way to learn.
Exactly. It's like when you have to explain something to a child. You have to break it down to the simplest terms.
And that forces you to really understand it yourself.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay.
So we've covered the 5 reasons. But the text also mentions that not all top students are these note hoarders, right?
Yeah.
What makes some of them willing to share while others hold on for dear life?
I think a big part of it is mindset. Students with what's called an abundance mindset, they believe that knowledge is meant to be shared and that there's enough success to go around.
So it's not a competition.
They see collaboration as a way to lift everyone up, including themselves.
That's a really cool way to look at it. And then on the flip side, you have the scarcity mindset,
Right.
where knowledge is seen as this limited resource.
They guard it like it's treasure.
So it's like one person sees sharing notes as a way to boost the whole group's understanding, while the other person sees it as a threat to their own position.
Exactly. And that difference in perspective, it can really shape how students approach learning and how they interact with their peers.
This has been a super insightful deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing this whole note sharing thing in a whole new light.
Me too.
So it's not as simple as just calling someone selfish if they're hesitant to share their notes. There's all these different factors at play. You know, the fear of competition, that sense of ownership, past negative experiences, insecurity, and even just a misunderstanding of what collaboration really means.
And recognizing all of that, those nuances, it can help us create a more supportive and collaborative learning environment for everyone.
Where everyone feels comfortable sharing what they know and learning from each other.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, here's something I want you to think about. Imagine you're that student who's been holding onto their notes like it's the Holy Grail. What's one tiny step you could take to be more open to collaboration? Without feeling like you're putting yourself at risk.
It could be something small, like offering to explain a concept to a classmate who's struggling or joining a study group.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that balance between looking out for yourself and realizing just how powerful shared knowledge can be.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today's deep dive, folks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.